welcome back to my channel, Creative Grandma. It's Stitch of the Week time, and this week's stitch is number 43. It's the Floret stitch. It's a beautiful, easy 2-row repeat pattern where one row is that double crochet and then the second row is that beautiful texture to give it just a pop to the design. So before I begin this video, I do have a couple special shout outs to my new patrons of my channel. So I want to say a special thank you to Regina Moore, Dorothy Campbell, and Melissa Boschart. So thank you so much for becoming patrons of my channel. And if you'd like more information on how to become a patron of my channel, you can click the link underneath this video in the description box and it'll give you all the details of the perks of becoming a patron of the channel. So this is my first sample, and this sample I change colors every row. I used white for the first row, and then I used a multicolor for the second row, and just change colors every row. Now you're going to have a lot of those ends, but the pattern design is so beautiful when you use a solid and multi together. So very pretty. And this multicolor here is Red Heart Super Saver, and this is Day Glow, and it's color number 3934. So a lot of people ask me what colors they are when I do my samples. So that's the color I use for the multicolor, and then just the basic white. My second sample, this is an off-white color. I thought it was white when I grabbed it, but it still shows how beautiful this is when it's made in a solid color. And if you have any of those June weddings coming up and you want to make a special Afghan for that June bride for their new home, and it's just a wonderful pattern. You can get that white and make this beautiful textured pattern. It's a classic design where it can be used in any room of the home and just add a really special accent, and you'll know that it was given with love and it was handmade with love. My third sample, this one I used with a number 3 lightweight yarn. The other samples were made with 4 medium weight yarn. So just by going from a 4 to a 3, it creates a lacy look, very pretty for a baby Afghan or maybe a lightweight sweater. This is a self-striping multicolored yarn from Ice Yarns, and this is the Magic Light. Very pretty. Now I don't have the color number, but I'll leave the link in the description box. This is the yarn, beautiful yellows, pinks, blues, a little touch of a greenish blue in there, just really pretty. So those are my 3 samples. Now before we get started, I did forget to tell you the stitch multiple. So the stitch multiple is a multiple of 2 plus 3. So you would take 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 until you get it the width you want, and then you need to add 3 more chains. Now for today's sample, I'm just going to use this beautiful pink. It's Premier. It's the color 1115-08. It's just a basic pink. I'm also using a size H8 or 5mm crochet hook. Now all my samples today, the 4 medium worsted weight samples and the 3 lightweight samples, I use the size H8 5mm hook. It just changes from being a tighter pattern to a lacier pattern depending on the yarn, or you can change your hook size up if you want the lacier look, or change your hook size down if you want that tighter look. So grab your yarn, grab your hook, and let's get started. So I already have my yarn attached to my hook, and I just used a double knot. You can use whichever method you prefer. Now I'm just going to do a small chain of 13 because it's a pretty easy pattern. You're going to yarn over, pull it through the loop on your hook, and this creates your first chain. Yarn over, pull through, that's 2, 3, 4, continue until you have 13 chains. I'll be back and we'll start row 1. I have my 13 chains, and now we're going to start row 1. Row 1 is going to be a simple double crochet row. We're going to start and we're going to skip those first 3 stitches. You're going to yarn over, skip 1, 2, 3. You're going to insert into the 4th chain and work a double crochet. Yarn over, pull through that chain. You have 3 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, and pull through 2 loops. You just made a double crochet. We're going to work 1 double crochet in each chain across. Yarn over, insert into the next chain, work a double crochet. Yarn over, insert into the next stitch, work a double crochet. So I'm just going to continue and work 1 double crochet in each chain across to the very end of your chain. So let's just keep working together. We're almost to the end, just a few more stitches. Yarn over, insert into the next stitch, work a double crochet. Double crochet into the next chain. I'm over to my last chain, and we're going to work a double crochet right into the last chain. So row 1 is complete. So you'll have your beginning chain 3, and then you'll have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 double crochet across. So total 11 stitches counting that beginning chain 3. So row 1 is your base row. Now row 2 and row 3 will be your repeat rows. So now we're going to work the textured part where you get that little bit of definition of that texture. Very pretty look. So we're going to begin and we're going to chain 1. You're going to turn your work. You're going to skip the beginning chain 1. You're going to skip that very first stitch and you're going to work a double crochet into the next stitch. Yarn over, skip the beginning chain 1, skip that first stitch, insert into the next stitch. You're going under both of the top loops, work a double crochet. We're going to slip stitch into the next stitch. Now this is very important with the stitch pattern that you keep that slip stitch loose. Don't get it so tight because you need to get in that stitch when you do your next row. Insert under the top 2 loops, yarn over, pull through that stitch, and pull through the loop on your hook and make it loose so you can see that stitch. Don't tighten it up real tight, or when you come across, you'll really have to cram your hook in there. So be careful with that slip stitch. So now we're going to start the repeat. We're going to double crochet into the next stitch, slip stitch into the next, and we're going to work that all the way across to the end. Yarn over, insert under the top 2 loops of the next stitch, work a double crochet. Insert into the top of the next stitch and slip stitch. Yarn over, pull through that stitch and pull through the loop on your hook and keep that stitch loose. And that is the end of the repeat. So let's do it again. Yarn over, insert under the top 2 loops of that next stitch, work a double crochet. Insert under the top 2 loops of the next stitch and slip stitch. Yarn over, pull through that stitch and pull through the loop on your hook and keep that stitch loose. And that is the end of the repeat. We need to do it 2 more times. Yarn over, insert into the top of that next stitch under the top 2 loops, work a double crochet. Insert into the top of the next stitch. Again, you're going under both loops and slip stitch. Yarn over, pull through that stitch and pull through the loop on your hook, keeping that stitch loose. So when you get over to the last 2 stitches, you're going to have a double crochet and you're going to have your ending turning chain 3, which counts as the last double crochet. So let's begin. Yarn over, insert under the top 2 loops of that next stitch, work a double crochet. Now we're going to slip stitch in the top of that ending turning chain. So you're going to insert your hook right into the top chain, yarn over, pull through that chain, and pull through the loop on your hook. And again, keep that stitch loose. So row 2 is finished. So now we're going to do row 3, which is a really easy row. You're going to start and chain 3, 1, 2, and 3, and you're going to turn your work. You're going to skip that first slip stitch here. So you're skipping the beginning chain 3, which counts as the first stitch, a double crochet. So when you look at your work, this is your chain 3, you're going to skip that. You're going to skip that first slip stitch, which is right here, and then go right on top of that next stitch. And if you have trouble, turn your work so you can see the top of those stitches. They're a little zigzag. So yarn over. Again, you're going to skip that beginning slip stitch, insert into the top of that double crochet stitch, work a double crochet. Yarn over. Now you're going to insert into that next slip stitch, and if you're not sure, you can pull your work apart. Here's your slip stitch, here's your double crochet, there's your slip stitch, or turn your work and look for the top of those stitches. You're going to insert into that slip stitch and again go under both loops, work a double crochet. So we're working 1 double crochet in each stitch across, each double crochet and each slip stitch. Yarn over, insert under the top 2 loops of the next stitch, work a double crochet. Yarn over, insert under the top 2 loops of the next stitch, work a double crochet. And we're just going to continue across the row. And again, I think it's very helpful if you turn your work. If you are looking at it this way, sometimes it's hard to see. I mean, I can see here's a stitch, here's my next stitch coming up. But if you're not sure and you're new to crocheting, just turn it and you'll see the tops of those stitches. And we're working 1 double crochet in each stitch across. So I just worked in my last double crochet. I'm at the end of the row. So when you work that last double crochet into that last stitch, you need to work a double crochet into that ending slip stitch. Now, if you're not sure with this pattern, I would suggest put a stitch marker when you do your last stitch. I'm going to yarn over, insert into that end slip stitch, work a double crochet. So when you get that last stitch done, if you put a stitch marker in there, when you turn your work, you're going to know where your first stitch is. When you begin the row and you have a stitch, when I make my first stitch, I can put a stitch marker in that stitch right after I make it, and then you know where your ending stitch is when you're coming back over. So very important if you're new to crocheting to mark that first and last stitch when you're learning a new stitch pattern. And then once you get the hang of it, you probably won't need them anymore. So here again, we have our beginning chain 3 that counts as a double crochet. And then you should have 10 more double crochet, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So we have a total of 11 stitches across. So you need to make sure your stitch count is correct. But that's all there is to it. It's a simple 2-row repeat, and you can see that beautiful texture on this stitch pattern. So now if you want to practice this stitch, just click back on the video to the beginning of row 2 and repeat row 2 and row 3 for the pattern, ending the pattern with row 3 with that double crochet row. I hope you enjoyed today's stitch of the week, number 43, the floret stitch. Now I did forget to show you the back of the work. This is the front where you get that beautiful texture. And then when you turn it over on the back, it's just going to be nice and flat. So beautiful pattern, just a little bit of texture to just give it a really pretty look to no matter what you make, from a sweater to an afghan to maybe a handbag, a scarf, maybe a hat. It just gives you something to work with. If you're looking for something different that you haven't tried before, it's quick, it's easy, and it's a fun pattern where you can really get creative with your coloration, and you can go plain, you could go striped, you could go multicolor. Now this stitch pattern is available on our website. I have the link in the description box underneath this video. If you click that link, it'll take you right to the Stitch of the Week website page, and you can scroll down, find the stitch you want. You just click the name of the stitch, and then it'll let you download it right to your computer. You can print it out and you can follow along right with this video. Great way to learn how to read instructions as well if you don't know how to read instructions. So thank you everybody, and until next time, stay inspired and happy crocheting.